Experience where I, Chad Nafusi, along with my co-host Benny Rachmaninoff, the CEO of iShook, embark on a journey of discovery in pursuit of work-life harmony. Now, while we may not claim to be experts, we are passionate seekers of answers, just like you, our valued audience. So have you ever wondered how to achieve that elusive work-life balance with only a limited number of hours in a day? If so, you're not alone. We're here to seek out the answers together, and not just for our benefit, for yours as well. So throughout this podcast series, we'll delve into various aspects of work-life balance, from managing professional ambitions to nurturing personal well-being. Our aim is to provide you with actionable insights to inspire positive changes and to foster a sense of community amongst our listeners. So we want to hear from you. We want you to be a part of this experience, an active part. So if you're ready to unlock the secrets of a more fulfilling, balanced, and harmonious life, get ready for the iShook experience. Together, let's embark on a journey of growth, discovery, and transformation. But first things first, let me introduce my esteemed co-host, Benny, someone of whom I have a great amount of admiration and am thrilled to be hosting the show with him. Benny is a world-class, renowned social content expert. He's CEO of iShook, which he has helped to grow into a truly world-class company. So Benny, I am honored to join you and talk with you on an earth-shattering first show. I mean, literally, we put the shook into iShook with this earthquake you had earlier in New York today.
Yeah, today was an earthquake. And obviously those who will listen to this podcast will be post, right? But either way, but I appreciate the accolade, and you should know, there's no doubt a lot of people should know how great you are, Chad, and how I'm have admiration for you as well. You are a success story, just as me, or probably even more. I mean, you have more convergence dollars to cents than I do. That's for sure.
Thank you, Benny. Well, we can go on and on about how wonderful I am all show if you want. I think that would be a fantastic topic for the first episode. But I do agree that, it's literally beyond the earth shaking that having this first episode is. I just want to say we've been working on this, Benny, now for a couple of months. We first met, we really hit it off, and we said, we've got to do something. We're both very similar in that we're both seeking questions. We're both seeking to get the most out of life, right? To squeeze the marrow from the bone, as they say. And so we came up with this because we're both very active. We're both entrepreneurs. We're both, go-getters in that sense, but we also have families. We also have avocations and other interests. And we're saying, how do we balance this? How do we squeeze it in? And Benny, the first inspiration for this came from one of my favorite books. I love the book Walden by Henry David Thoreau. I reread it every single year. Some people hate it. Some people find it the most boring book of all time. But for me, I get a lot. And there's one quote, Benny, that really stood with me that I think could be the crux of this show, which is, the cost of a thing is the amount of what I call life, which is required in exchange for it, immediately or in the long run. So in other words, something that we're saving up for or making money, that's costing us time. It's costing us an amount of life. And you, as someone who's so busy, so accomplished, and juggling so many things, every time I talk to you, you've got new things going on. I'm exhausted just speaking to you sometimes, hearing what's going on. So I want to really delve into this first episode so the audience can get to know a little bit more about me and more about you. Who cares about me? I'm interested in you.
People should be interested in you for sure. I mean, not just me. I can't be always the center of attention.
That's true. Right. Well, I do want to ask you some questions, and I'll answer them as well, so we can kind of get into it. So, as the CEO of iShook, you're obviously very busy. You said 3 sons, right? So yeah. You've got a family, you've got a whole company relying on you, all these people. So first of all, how many hours do you generally spend working in a week? Is there a set hours or an average?
Yeah, I'm generally spending honestly, with my other obligations, I'm probably working all the time. So it's constantly work. But it depends what you call work. Technically, going fishing is also work. Physically, you're working, right? I mean,
right. So right.
What sensibility do you have when you're working? What do you feel when you're working?
Right.
Yeah, my general scheme of what I have to do for iShook is literally day and night. So day and night, and and flexible hours need to be available. Now, what I would suggest is for people to understand the way we live in the market today. If you're doing any type of startup, you already have to have a global mindset, because you're not going to be hiring every single person in the US. You would love to hire every single person in the US, but you're literally going to hire in the globe a lot of other peoples. I mean, because not every expert lives in the US. Not everybody knows and understands a certain issue or a certain, I guess, component when it comes to production and resource in the US. It's built that way, based, from I guess the US policies from the 90s till now, in a global market. So we are really in a global market. So
the old 9 to 5 model is out the window. Forget it. 9 to 5 Eastern, that's nothing.
And you can't be an entrepreneur 9 to 5. If you're going to be a 9 to 5 entrepreneur, you could be working 9 to 5 and then doing something from 6 to 9 and be an entrepreneur, because that's 6 to 9 your side hustle. Yeah. But I don't think anyone can do a 3-hour day side hustle. You're probably going to be like, for example, take a person on Etsy, and they're creating jewelry, custom jewelry. Which is big. That's I think what Etsy was about, creating these small customized, products. People are going to spend 4 or 5 to 1 in the morning creating these jewelry components till they're able to expand, or whatever it is, till they have a success. I mean, so the reality is, in my end, I'm working countless of hours, and I drop things when I have to in order to do whatever I have to. So there's no other.
So do you put boundaries on then, where you say, okay, I'm specifically out now, or are you constantly where you're doing things? I'm fishing right now with my kids, but I'm also checking my phone. How do you balance that?
Yeah, that's what I do. So one thing I have to tell people, what I do now, I don't reply people right away anymore.
Right.
I don't do that reply right away. That reply right away is never going to happen anymore, because I've learned something, that I cannot have the phone control me. I have to control the phone.
I love that. Yes,
it's very important, and that's for me number one right now, because what I realized is I am letting people's needs and ideas and ideology per se control my time management, which is not what it should be. So if someone text messages me and I'm going to answer right away, no. I can't do that anymore, because then I'm not time managing myself. I am literally being directed by a baton. What do they call the orchestra? The guy who does the
baton. Yes. Mm-hmm.
It's not the baton. It's the maestro. What does he use? It's not a baton, is it?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. What is that he uses? I know what you mean, though. Yes.
I'm not going to let that be the controlling factor and the movement of my day-to-day activity.
Right. Okay.
Right. So let's say, like you, Chad, if you send me a text, for sure I'm going to respond to your text, right? Because we're working the same flow, right? So you'll get an immediate response. But everyone else, even per se, depending on the family member, they will not get an instant response, because of the fact is whatever success I have and whatever accomplishments I would have, guess what? Will benefit every single person around me. So it's not just benefiting me. My success benefits the surrounding area. Your success benefits your surrounding area. So yes, in that sense, there has to be a balance between immediate family, but not necessarily to extended family. That's what I believe. And it's not how do you say, like, what's the right word? It's not a dish to the rest of the family. It's just the reality is time, like you put in your intro. And the reality is time you can never get back. It's the only commodity that's never refundable and never retrievable. So you got to take a look at it that way.
So I see. So you're basically saying I'm going to control my time by how I prioritize access to myself. So that's where right. I love that mindset. So you're in control instead of it controlling you. Also, I'm sure you find, Benny, if you respond to people right away, then they respond right away. And then if you don't respond in 10 minutes, they go, where is this guy? He just responded to me a minute ago. So you almost have to have people wait. So you have that span of time to focus on what you're doing and get it done. And by the way, breaking news, I did check. It is called the baton. We were both right. The maestro. Yes, we were right. See that? Thank you, Internet. I love it. I love when the Internet backs us up. So
I love it. By the way, and side point, I want to say something very interesting, and it's like something that came to my. I was watching Gentleman Jack as in the show on HBO, and I noticed how the one thing that I liked the depiction in that show was when the letters are being sent back and forth. The amount of contemplation in a letter was for me very, very interesting. That depiction taught me a lot, because in all history for 2,000 years, people have been communicating via letters. And the contemplation we spend on a letter takes time, right? We're pondering, what did they mean? Calculating how they wrote it, what's the tone. And today what happens? You write a text message, 2 seconds, you got to reply. I want to contemplate what you mean. What did you say? What was your intent? I want to give you a good answer. That's another factor why a person should not let that phone control you. You control the phone and reply in a proper setting, proper tone. And then you're obviously not going to have a full-blown conversation. Then that takes half an hour of your time inadvertently to your daily activity. A side point, obviously.
No, I love that, because you're right. It's more contemplative when we're taking our time to do something as opposed to shooting it off quickly. And that's a great point. Gentleman Jack, when they're writing letters, it's more valuable. They're not shooting off 50, 60 texts a minute. They're shooting off one letter, maybe that hour or that quarter hour, half hour. So what they say has more gravitas. So it's like, and look at the climax and the syntax of exactly how the show is being made based on these letters. Listen, it's a kind of like a historical show, right? It's basically Ann Lister and her experience, and all that is based on literally the documents that they have of her diaries and her show, and that shows the intellect and the importance. Really, I looked at it as the letters as one of the main important things, and how the response to each other was so unique and so appreciative. And again, I know this to be true in many other cultures and many other situations, and the fact that they were able to show that and depict that, it's a big lesson that people, I don't think, are really taking in consideration of how important that is. So just a side point. Yes. No, that's a great point. And when we're here talking about work-life balance, we are stuck with finite parameters of time. So when you can find ways to work better within that time or control that time better, like you're doing, that's fantastic. But I find it interesting, Benny, that you are always working, but even when you're not working, you have your mind on it. Are there times where you're just completely blocked out and you're saying, I am not doing anything right now during a regular work week?
Yeah, for an hour and a half. I mean, honestly, my regular work week is usually morning and night, because again, to talk to people in overseas, let's say in Japan, in India, in Singapore, in Australia, those hours you got to do at night. Our night is their morning, and sometimes vice versa. They do it for us. So you have to balance that. So, when you take a break at 9 at night, chilling a little bit, taking a break for an hour, that in itself, is something you need to do. I mean, sacrifice is important. If you're not going to sacrifice your time for the things you believe in, then you're never going to go and achieve your achievements that you're looking for. And an achievement doesn't necessarily mean financial achievement. I mean, accomplishment of tasks is also very important, even if they're micro tasks.
No, and I love that. And that's one thing. So for everybody watching, stay tuned for later in the show. I actually have some actionable insights that you could implement into your day right away to help you balance your time better. But also, I'm going to give one tip that is my personal favorite that's easy to implement, the last tip I'm giving. So definitely stay tuned for that. Benny, you're going to love this one because you're going to be able to do it right away as well.
I'm excited. I'm waiting.
Yes, I didn't even want to tell you yet. This is something I do, my wife does, and we've been doing it for years, but we'll get there. That's for later on in the show, for sure. So I do want to know, is there anything specific experience or challenge that you've had in juggling your personal life and your business life? And how did you overcome that when you're just like, oh my gosh, I have two things. I'm obligated to both. One's business, one's personal. And have you been able to balance that at all? And if not, we're going to seek answers to how to do that. So I just wondered if there was a personal experience you had with that.
So I will tell individuals, it's very simple. I've been able to, on purpose, cut down on travel time, where in the building that I'm in, I live here, I do other tasks in the building. There's different sections in my building. And obviously I'm able to save time on traveling, where I used to have to travel in many locations. The travel time is, I think, one of the key elements. If you can financially buy a house or a home, that in that home you can do literally everything in that home, then you will have saved thousands and thousands of hours on travel time. I think
True.
that's ideal. And today's lifestyle, especially post COVID, today's lifestyle. And I was doing this before COVID. I
Oh
was
yeah.
doing I was working literally from home, and I was working also virtually. Of course, I have offices and whatever that we need to, if we need to go, we can get there. But
Right.
I was doing a remote work since 2013.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, and I've been very successful at it. COVID
Right.
really was like, okay, nothing new for me. I work remotely anyway because I work for myself. I don't have to go
Mm,
anywhere technically. I mean, I used to
right.
have an office prior to 2013. I used to have a printing press. And that's in another podcast we do with Midnight Market with Kira. I put a plug there.
Right, right. Yes, yeah. We want to plug it all. We want to plug everything on the iShook network for sure.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. And that in itself, I think, was very important because what we're trying to do, and what I try to do, is you have to really maximize your time because
right,
especially in today's market in the tech world, things are going so fast. How can you catch up? It's literally
right,
impossible, humanely impossible, especially with AI coming out, which we have, by the way, another show coming out on Tuesday. But we're going to air this post, right? So, but with
right.
Thomas Ellsworth from Patrick Bet David, so he's going to be on the show. We're going to talk about AI.
I love
Yeah,
that.
so, yeah. So tune into that show as well for me. Go
Yes,
check
for
out that one.
sure.
Yeah.
Tune into all of them, and you'll get a little bit of snippets, different facets of life that will give you a whole,
Definitely, definitely,
a whole
definitely. By the way, I was
experience.
very excited to get to this show idea that you had because I shook experience, and experience in general is very important because it's true. I did put myself into many extremes, many situations of financial loss, and then you also have to deal with it psychologically, right? But no
Right,
doubt, no doubt, no doubt, this is the number one thing to save time. If you can save on travel time and use that remote situation as a success story, you will
right,
win at the time aspect. But again, at the same time, you still need to get out there, right? You still need to go out. So you still need
right.
to create ideas where you're out there meeting one-on-one people. I mean, that's very important. And I personally,
Hmm.
I don't like the fact that it's going to the full extreme of remote work. Even when I was working remotely in 2013, I still had to go to meetings face to face in the city. But now there's no more, like, it's literally the meetings face to face are not even there anymore. So it's a little bit
This is
complicated.
face to face. This is about as face to face as it gets right
Yeah, but
now.
it's not the
Yeah.
same as when you're sitting down and you're joking and you have the facial expression, and it's very different. It's very different.
Right. It's true. I find right when you're there face to face, there's a little bit more of that personal connection, and you're talking not straight down to business like we would be in a Zoom meeting too. But I
Yeah,
love that you're taking your time and you have all these shows in the network where they're each doing a different facet of our human experience. And there's a saying, who is wise? One who learns from every person. It's a Talmudic saying. And this is what you're
yeah,
doing, Benny. You are searching and learning. And I love that because I'm a seeker as well. And that was the kind of the crux of this show was that we're not saying we're the experts. We are just like you, the listening audience. We have these questions. We want this work-life balance, and we're going to work together through this series to find it. And we're not going to stop until we will. Ironically, we're going to spend a lot of time learning how to save some time and balance better. But that's how to do it because we put the time in. We can learn a little more. So it's such a fascinating topic because it's one thing you can't control. You can work hard, you can make more money, you can make your health better, but you cannot control time. That is finite. That is something that is non-renewable, non-fungible, and non-transferable. That's it. You have it. And we need to find out how to work within these parameters. Benny, for me, and it's funny, you were saying about remote working. I also have been remote working for years. I loved, frankly, getting away to Florida for winters. So my wife and I, almost 20 years ago, would just say, we're going away for the winter and work remotely with whatever limited tech we had then, and then worked it out as it got better. And the rest of the world sort of caught up to what you were doing and what I was doing early. So it does save a lot of time, but it's just fascinating how we've come to it now and what we have. But I have so many questions and I have so many things that I want to find out. But do you think overall, Benny, finding work-life balance is more feasible in today's fast-paced world or less feasible? Because we're able to do things quicker, but it seems like people are now trying to do more and more things. And you're certainly someone who has so much going on. Is it feasible? Is it something that people should be seeking to do?
Right. So I say is as follows. What I say is that in today's market, well, for us it's different, right? We have Sabbath, right? I
Hmm.
mean, but I suggest every single person to take one day off, cut off
Yes.
electronics, cut off everything, whether it's Sunday, Friday, Saturday, whatever it is. Just limit your intake and more of an intake of communication and what's it called? I mean, that in itself is very, very important. I mean, I think, and again, that's how we down. You take a downtime, right? Which is the holidays that
Right.
you have, and you should
Hmm.
really appreciate the holidays. But what I think is happening is most of these holidays, if you're still on the phone and you're still on the electronics and you're sitting on a dinner table, which is a special event, whether it's Christmas, whether it's Hanukkah, whether it's Kwanzaa, whatever holiday you would have, right? Or
Hmm.
whether it's July 4th, Juneteenth, and you're doing a barbecue, make that
Right.
barbecue your event, right? Make it your
Yes.
time. Don't use those events as downtimes. So we already have default downtimes throughout all our holidays, and now with the U.S., every day is a holiday now, right? Every day is a holiday for
Right.
this
Right.
group, that group, whatever
Right.
group you're in, whatever clique you're in, for click
Hmm.
talk, right? It's coming out.
Right.
Whatever clique you're in,
Yes.
just do your thing. Just do your thing, right? Make it the holiday that you need to make. Like make it happen. That's what I say.
Benny, the technical definition of holiday is recreation or a day when no work is done. So if you're working, it's not a holiday. So that's brilliant that you think that, because that's exactly what it is. So you're saying no matter what, no matter how busy you are, take some time. That's forcing a balance right there. Saying I'm cutting off right now, whether it's sundown or whatever time you decide you determine, and I'm going to start again. But in between then and now, my work life doesn't exist. I only have this other life, which is a forced balance. And that really must provide you a harmony, knowing every week you have that coming at the end of it.
Oh yeah, that 24 hours is very important. That 24
Yeah.
hours for me is very important. But between you and I still work. You know what I do, what my other side job is. I still work, but it's a
Mhm.
different type of work. So I realized one thing: you will not break down if you really love what you do.
Right.
You will break down if you don't love what you do, or if you've expanded yourself too much with what you love.
Right. Right. Okay. So
Depends.
expand on that. What do you mean by that?
All right, people have mental limits.
Right.
When you like, if you go to okay, if you go to, there's three types of things that a person can lose in war. If you overextend your war effort, right, and you put your soldiers thin, you will lose the war,
Right.
right? And
Hmm.
that's what happened literally in the history of World War II and many other historical empires who tried to take over the world. They just didn't have
Absolutely.
enough. They don't have enough soldiers historically
Right.
to conquer the world and manage it, right?
Right. Look
And
at Stalingrad. That's exactly what
yeah,
happened towards the end of World
Napoleon,
War II. Yeah.
Stalingrad, and you have Germany.
Right.
You have all of these guys, all these, how do you say it? The one world order seekers, right? That's good for
Right.
unplugging.
It happened to Rome. It was the first one. They went too far on their borders,
Too far,
overextended. You're right.
Alexander as
Yeah.
well. Everyone who goes for that one world order, it's
Right.
it's it's a failure. I mean, you go through history. You haven't seen anyone succeeding and holding power. It's not about
Right.
starting the fight, killing and murdering and starting wars. It's about holding the power. So now you have to
Right.
take the same concept in business. You can't
Okay.
overextend yourself in business financially, right?
Right.
Then you can't overextend yourself in business or in life mentally.
Right.
Just because you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to first test your mental, reserves. Are you
Hmm.
able to be, are you able to retain the hit, like in MMA or in boxing? Are you able to
Right.
retain the hit? What is your stamina? So you
Right.
also
What's
have
your
mental.
resolve? Right.
Yeah, what's your
Okay.
result? What's your mental stamina? What can you comprehend, right? If you
Right.
have a
Hmm.
lack of comprehension, and I think that's very important. If you're limited in comprehension, you know how to do the work, but you're limited in comprehension of many ideas, many personalities, and you don't have the ability to deal with her personalities. That in itself is something that a person has to think about. Like, are those things that you can manage, or are you going to burn yourself out? Are you going to lose? I think there's some sort of a show with an entrepreneur. I saw this on an ad on YouTube where a girl was making $36 million by the age of 22 a year or
Hmm.
so, and she was breaking down how she can't manage all these people. She worries every day. They take out of her life. Of course, she's gonna feel that. She's
Right.
22 years old. What did you do to prepare yourself at 22 to manage so many people and have this responsibility of so many people? You didn't live your
Right.
life. you do. So with me, I feel accomplished in my family. I have a family, I have kids, I have a wife, I have all the things I need, right? So I feel
Right.
accomplished. They're growing already. So for me, I can spend more time on myself and accomplish
Right.
more for my kids, right? And for my family. But if a person at 21, 22 became a multimillionaire, are they really comprehending what life is? No. Look, you see, all of them are falling apart.
Right.
All the child actors in Hollywood, all the child entrepreneurs, it doesn't matter. They were never built to do these things at night. And by the way, it's very
Right.
I tell everybody, you want to learn and build your mindset, you got to play games like chess. If you're not playing strategy games like chess, you're not sharpening your mind in order to
Right.
compute faster. And the
Right.
computation of a person's brain is very, very important. By the way, this is a side point. I don't. That's why I don't believe in the chip that they're trying to integrate with the brain. I
Hmm.
don't believe that it's gonna. I believe it works. I believe it will
Right.
work. I don't believe we'll be able to upload data to a person that
Right.
will match to the mind. For example, I don't think that you can put him all the karate moves in the brain, and his body will be able to do the karate moves without breaking down. Because to
Right.
do
It'll be
kung
overloaded. Right.
It'll be overloaded. The bones are not built the way they're trained. Like all the bones are like if you go to these kung fu places and
Right.
the Shaolin priests and they teach you kung fu. There's one on Instagram where in Sweden they have some sort of temple over there, and there's two Swedish kids are not quiz. They're like plus 20, and they're training for kung fu. And the guy's been training for 7 years, building
Right.
bone mass, expanding his bone mass, being able to retain pain. Like you're gonna upload all this. How will he be able to retain pain? He hasn't been trained
Right.
to pain management. So the same thing
Fascinating.
here. You're being an entrepreneur. You want to do the entrepreneurial work. You're gonna for sure destroy your family if if you never learned how to retain the stress and the
Yeah.
energy that it takes to balance family and to work on entrepreneurship. So whatever you do at work does not spill to your family. That's my whole thing.
And
I know it's complicated what I just said, but
no, it makes so much sense because this is what it boils down to. This is why we're here on the iShook experience because it's about balance. So if you're becoming a multimillionaire in your early 20s, it's not balanced and things are going to not be balanced and work. That's what it is. So you really need, like you're saying, the time, the background, setting it up. If you're going to download those karate moves into your head, like you said, it's like putting an F1 engine into a standard Ford street car. It's not going to be able to do it. You need to work it so it is balanced. Otherwise, what happens? Things tip over and it's out of order, and you feel that mentally, physically, everything. And that's one of the things I'm fascinated about every day and want to explore, and why I'm so excited about this podcast, the iShook Experience, because I want to get answers. I know you want to get answers. And I really first started feeling this, Benny, before I had kids. I said, whatever, my time seemed less valuable because it was all about me. But once I had a family and wanted to spend more time and raise them and impart things to them, that's where I said, oh my gosh, how do we get this balance? I still only have the same amount of hours in a day. And that's where it came to it, where we're having these, these discussions, and there's so many people doing it. So I want to know, okay, we think we can achieve balance in today's fast-paced world. You've had some specifics. I've had some specifics of doing it, and how you do it as a CEO. But what have you gained over the years? Now, I know you said different things. You said where you control your time instead of having it control you. But what about avoiding burnout? Because that's one of the biggest thing that throws people off balance. Is the main thing for you with burnout making sure you're passionate about what you're doing? Because then you could work long hours, be busy long hours between family and work, and not feel that burnout. Or have you had instances yourself where you're like, I need a break, or that you do specifically to avoid that kind of burnout and needing a break?
okay, so with me, burnout works very a little bit different. I just work less hours. So if let's say I put 10
Okay.
hours in a day, like I give an example,
Mhm.
I had to publish a specific book, right? Because I still do typography, not to lose my skills of InDesign and use of InDesign and Photoshop and Illustrator. I don't want to lose those skills. So not to
Right.
lose those skills, you got to use it as much as you can frequently, right? And on top of that, I also save time of always having to call my graphic designer for every little thing. So I always suggest it's true that might burn you out because you're doing now graphic design, but you should definitely learn how to use Illustrator, InDesign, and Photoshop for your own sake, right? Because
Right.
once you know how to use it, then you can kind of critique a graphic designer. But if you don't know how to use, don't even critique how they work, right? That's just a
Right.
side. But
Yeah.
I spent, for example, 9 days straight, literally 100 hours a day. And you have to want to do this, to work till 2, 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, go to sleep for 2, 3
Yes.
hours, work again, and then again, maybe sleep in the afternoon for an hour or two. That's what I do. You got but again, you got to be willing to do that. And what I do suggest to people, and I think this is really a mindset and culture. Most individuals want to retire at 30 or 25.
Right.
Where's that quick fix? No. When you're 20, 25, and 30 and 40, that's when you got to maximize your time. That's when you're your healthiest, where you can go like a bullet train and do what you got to do.
Right.
And listen, young people can't complain, because when they go to the parties, when they go to the clubs, they're drinking Red Bulls, they're drinking alcohol, they're doing full extreme. So this baby nonsense, I can't do it, I'm going to burn out. But you're burning yourself out for the clubs.
Right.
For all these, pleasures you're looking for. I mean, I'm not saying don't have pleasures in life.
Right.
But if you
have
really
balance.
If you really, and you have to have balance with that, of course, as well. But if you really want to be an entrepreneur and you really want to make it, be ready to do the same when it comes to a project and so on and so forth. And then you won't have this chemical issue that you're thinking you're going to burn out. Of course, you shouldn't go 24 hours, 36 hours straight. I mean, for me to publish a book, I went 36 hours straight one time, several times.
Really?
Yeah, that was when I was younger. Can I do it now? I can't do it now. It's crazy if I do it now. But I do go on sleepless nights or little limited nights of sleep to finish a project. And that's what you have to have. If you want to make it and break it, that's what you got to do. But you have to. It only works, by the way, when you're by yourself, it's hard, because it really only works when you have someone, a partner, a spouse who will be there supportive of you. If you don't have that spouse, it's not going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, you will burn out, and if they're not going to be there to back you up with raising the kids and building the family, they're not. You're not going to be able to fully focus your 100 on the business, right?
Right. So support team, whether it is a spouse or whether it's family or friends, having the support helps you avoid burnout, because you're able to delegate, whether it's in business or whether it's in your personal life. So that's what you were able to do, where you can now focus on your project and know that things are being handled back at home as well. So that's one of the things, I guess.
You and I, as a family person, and I'm sure you would say that when you have children, it's a little bit different. You had that already click in your mind: legacy, estate planning, giving it over to your kids to have a better, easier life in order to have a jump start, not to do the extra work that you're doing so they can do other things, per se, expand what you've done. That's your dream, right? Not every kid is going to follow your, I say maybe most likely my kids are not going to follow what I do in production in my business. But my grandkids, for sure, at least one or two might say, okay, Grandpa, I want to follow the business. I want to come in. And then, they might come on board. Because, again, not everybody's built for a high school or not high school. For sure, you got to go to high school. But for a college diploma with a paper that potentially you can't find a job in the job markets today. Like that and stuff. And that's the biggest, by the way, that's the biggest failure we have in society today, where vocational schools have been dropping in creation. And, and academia has been going up. And we see that academia doesn't really do much in a sense of really educating people of history, current events, and life events. That's
practical skills is where it's lacking. Life skills is what I see.
Life skills will never be taught in a classroom. Honestly, I don't believe any life skills will be taught in a classroom. By the way, when you go for diamond setting, you can't read a book to learn diamond setting. You got to learn by a diamond setter how to diamond set. Right? That's just fact. When a blacksmith, you weren't able to read a book. How do I do? I'm sure you can read it, but it doesn't mean you're going to know the techniques and the specialty techniques that people have been doing blacksmithing for 20, 30 years. And now, he's creating some sort of new sword in Japan for the samurai, like things like that.
Right.
Level, you know what I mean?
Right. Well, that's what I was referencing earlier, the book Walden by Henry David Thoreau. And he basically says, I'm paraphrasing, but is it better to read a manual about how to build some furniture, say, or to go out and build the furniture? What is going to learn more? The person who walked out of the classroom after learning from the manual, or the person who spent the same amount of time actually learning and building the furniture? So it's the same thing with those kind of life skills.
I say you need two. I say you need both.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I say you need both. I say read the manual and go learn
Hmm.
and go
Right.
actually hands on. I mean, that's for
Right.
sure. Apprenticeship is more important than the study. A study is important, but apprenticeship
Hmm.
is more important. And by the way, in the attorneys, you're an attorney, right?
I
So
was
you
former, not anymore.
oh,
Former attorney. Yeah.
okay, but you still went and studied. So to me, you're still
Right.
an attorney. You still got the
Okay.
title in your education, right? You have the
Right.
ability to
Right.
be an attorney, whatever. And most attorneys in the country really don't know what they're talking about.
Right.
Honestly, I deal with attorneys, and I talk to many of them, and they don't like the difference between an attorney is whether he has the writing skills, right?
Right.
If you can write like an author, like a literature writer, that's
Hmm.
one component that makes you the best attorney. Because if you can
Interesting.
convey
Right.
complex, and I have one attorney like this, he can
Hmm.
convey complex information in simplistic form for a judge
Right.
to understand an issue. That's a skill. That skill doesn't
Right.
come from studying in school if you're not actually writing material, talking to a professor who actually is a proficient writer, and he's saying, no, this is the skill of writing. This is how you got to write. These are the building blocks of writing. I mean, you got to
Right.
study that, right?
Classic example of doing both, though, of being the apprentice and having the education as well, doing both. So,
Exactly my
yeah.
point.
Again, it comes back to balance, and that's the beauty of it. And that's what we're finding. And things are in balance, things go well, things move quickly. So it's really fascinating. It's a fascinating topic because there is no end, because there's always improvement to go. There's no ceiling when you're talking about this kind of work-life balance or work-life harmony. Some people say they don't like calling it work-life balance because they think if it's balance, you're pushing something out of the way. I disagree. It's harmony when things are in balance too. But I do have some action items that I want to go over that our audience can say, here's what I can take away from this right away. And Benny, I want to get your thoughts on this as well, because I love for people to watch this show and come out of this with a handful of things going, I'm going to try that right away. And reach out to us, even comment, tell us what you think. Have you tried this? Has this worked? Do you have tips of your own that you want us to try and see what works, or the iStrict Experience audience at large, what they can take from this and try? Because we all want to grow. We all want to have this balance. And that's why we're here. Besides it being entertaining, we want it to be informative as well and actionable. So, and again, at the end, I'm going to give my one little tip that I have that has worked for me for years, and I love it. And everyone can do it literally right after the show. Make sure you watch the end of the show. That's the most important. And then do it afterwards. So here's what we do. Number one action item. We all have a ton of things to do. Prioritize your tasks. This is what we have. So many things, they're jumbled. And I see this now with my kids, Benny. They don't write anything physically. I'm old school. I have a pen right here. They don't write things down. So I tell my son, the beauty of crossing something off on a list and having it go is prioritizing the tasks. So creating the daily tasks and weekly, daily, prioritize it. Focus on the most important task first to avoid feeling overwhelmed and go from there. So that's number one. Prioritize your tasks. It's so simple. And I say, don't do it digitally, Benny. Write it down on a list, because the satisfaction of taking a piece of paper and crossing it off, it's such a tactile moment between your brain and the body. You're going, wow, that was satisfying. Just knowing at the end of the day, you'll have your list crossed off. And maybe that gives your day an end. I'm not done until I see a slash across all 10 things I have to do. Number
By
two.
the way, that point, I just want to mention a good point on that point. That when you're typing and putting information notes on your phone, it's the phone that stores the memory. When you're writing it yourself, it's your brain storing the memory.
Oh, that's interesting. Right. Okay.
That.
Yeah. Okay. So that's all about keeping your mind sharp, then, that connection, that mind connection.
Exactly. That's why I like to first write what I want to say, then type. So if I'm writing a book, I first write it down by hand, then I type it.
Really? Okay. And then that creates more of a long-term memory as well in your brain, right? The connection.
Sure. And it structures my memory. And then when I retype it, I get new ideas and I incorporate it in my retyping.
See, I love that, because you are this visionary CEO, Benny, with all these tech things and futuristic and forward-thinking things, but you've incorporated older style things, not only ancient wisdom from what I know you and I have both studied, but also just quotidian daily tasks that you're doing with a pen. I love
Right,
that.
because your brain, by the way, your two hands, I think in anatomy, if I'm not mistaken, correct, let our viewers comment if I'm wrong or not, give us the links.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure that the human hand is literally, especially the left arm, right, is
Mm-hmm.
connected to the brain directly. So the
Okay.
muscles of the hands are literally connected to your brain directly.
Hmm.
Right. So I think we should check
Interesting.
that out. But I think that's what's really happening when you're writing down information. Your,
Mm-hmm.
your your brain is digesting information properly. By the way, and there's a difference between the generational gap. I believe that
Mm-hmm.
I think who was the guy, very famous musician.
Mm-hmm.
He said we have to not invest on AI, but HI, human intelligence.
Human intelligence. Okay.
Right, because what's happening is that, like, my kids, they don't know how to write in script anymore.
Right.
Like, script is like unified thinking. Why can't we write in script anymore? And that
Hmm.
in
Right.
itself is a very important thing. That means your mind is not able to generate and to digest that kind of information, that unified
Right.
information. So it
And
becomes
that's
more
being lost.
yeah, that's being lost.
Right.
So I just wanted to verify how important it is what you're saying of writing, in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay. Well, no, I love that. So good. So it's melding the old with the new there too, and that's finding a balance too. Because don't forget, Benny, we're talking thousands of years of human evolution, but we're talking maybe 30, 40 years where we're really doing things digitally on a computer. So human brains aren't trained
Right.
or evolved yet for that.
But
Got a lot of
everybody
catching
thinks
up
the
to do.
iPhone is the brain.
Right. Exactly.
Everybody
And
forgot that they got this in their head, that it can work better.
that's it. It's supposed to be an adjunct. It's supposed to help us, but not replace
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's where the balance comes in. Is it
Yeah,
replacing
exactly.
you or is it you? That's the thing.
See that? We are making leaps and bounds here on the I Shook Experience, episode 1, finding this millennial old balance. I love it, Benny. This is
Yeah.
great.
There's a lot of all the other concepts in writing too. I mean, it's very powerful.
Yes. And we can connect all of them to what we're talking about and how it helps with balance. Because even if you're writing and connecting and it's stored in your long term memory, that's less time you need to waste looking things up, finding things, storing things. It's there. Trust yourself in that sense. But tip number 2, and you discussed this earlier, set boundaries. Establish clear boundaries between your work and your personal time by somewhat defining specific work hours or just unplugging from work related activities outside those hours. Now, it may not be a whole day. It may not be a whole day of rest if you don't want to. It may just be a specific time. Like you said, someone texted you now. I am not responding for an hour. And that time has been the boundary you set between those two tasks. So that's tip number 2. Number 1 is prioritize tasks. Number 2, set boundaries. And I know you're a fan of that and you already do that in your business and family life.
Other people also have to figure out when you have a dog, right? A stray dog, which is more domesticated, what kind of dog would you have? A stray dog or an actual dog who's domesticated?
A domesticated dog, I would think.
Why? Why? Because he has boundaries.
Right, exactly. Right.
Who's more powerful who's more powerful? A person who does whatever he wants whenever he wants, or a person who can reserve himself, domesticate himself or herself in order to do what needs to be done to be a better person or a successful person, and of course life balance. So you have to know your limitations in order to win in life, right? Like in
Right,
chess,
right.
not every piece moves wherever it wants, right? And even in checkers,
Mhm.
there's always rules involved in games, right? In order to create limitations, in order to create balance, in order to create, success. So for sure, and that's why I'm trying to, like, what you said is spot on. I mean, everyone should really take that in consideration.
And this ties right back to what you were saying. Look at throughout history, as soon as these world leaders and army leaders lost their boundaries and overextended themselves, got out of balance, the entire army failed. The entire battle campaign, the war was lost every time the boundary was lost. So whether it's simple saying, I'm not going to text you back for an hour, or I'm not going to invade the Germanic tribes when I'm running Rome in 200 AD, that's exactly what we're dealing with. So it really crosses the spectrum of what you need to do. So these little action items we're doing work if you're Alexander the Great or if you're just sitting there watching our podcast right now. So it works for everyone. That's why I love it.
Right.
The I Shook experience is for everyone, Benny. This is fabulous.
I love it.
This might be required watching for all universities across the country shortly. I think.
Maybe let's see. Let's see. If they want to question our scholarly work, we all have our own licenses and paper, to show.
That's right, exactly. And life experience too there. So
no doubt, no doubt.
So number 3, and we discussed this as well already, delegate and outsource. So delegate tasks that can be handled by others and consider outsourcing certain responsibilities to free up time for more meaningful activities. Now, what the meaningful activity to you will change day by day. Is it at that time business? Is it at that time personal? Meaningful will have, that'll be varying changes. But delegate and outsource. You can't do it all by yourself. Even this podcast, it would be very boring if I was just speaking right to the microphone, and vice versa if we didn't have each other to bounce off and outsource and delegate. And I know you said that earlier, just you were saying it's important to have a backup team, whether it be your spouse, your partner, or your coworkers. You need to be able to delegate and outsource so that you can focus on what you need. So what do you think on that, Benny?
Definitely. This is what my partner also taught me. He said, Benny, you hire the people to do the work you need. And there is a syndrome, by the way, by many entrepreneurs, do it yourself. Do it all yourself. No. Right. Do whatever you know, like certain tasks I do myself. But you have to delegate your information, your details. You have to.
Right.
You can't do it all yourself. By doing it yourself, you will lose. You will lose the game because you can't. It's impossible for you to do yourself. What are you going to start coding right now? You're not going to do coding right now. There's a lot of things involved here, and there's a lot of things that person has to take in consideration and what to do. And that's very, very important.
Right. It's about knowing your own limitations, knowing that can't be the expert on everything. And that will also save you some time and give you some balance. Find the right people, whether it's personal or business, delegate, outsource, and move on. So again, that's the 3rd action item. So prioritize tasks, set boundaries, delegate, and outsource. We also have 2 more, and then I'm going to give my own favorite that you can do right when we log off of this. And I love it. It's so simple, but it really adds enjoyment to my day. So number 4, practice self-care. Now, this is really important, and this is a burgeoning industry that in other countries especially, it's been more in the mainstream. But in America, it's almost been taboo to say, I'm going to take time and have some self-care because I should be working, hustle. And that will lead to burnout. That will lead to lack of balance. So make self-care a priority, whether it's a little bit of time or a lot of time. Incorporate regular exercise, meditation, hobbies, any kind of relaxation technique into your routine that helps you recharge and reduce stress, whether it's setting off a specific full day, whether it's an hour, whether it's taking a midday jog or a midday nap. That's super important, self-care. And that is not making you a slacker, which is like a big thing in American culture, but instead it's recharging you and allowing you to work more productively, more efficiently. And that's super important too.
Yeah. Only on the condition if it's 5% of your activities or 10%. Mm-hmm. But some people, they need to recharge 50% of their time, 80% of their time. And I think that's already a failure. Like, why do you need that much time to recharge? You know what I mean? Like, if you need that 50%, I think then there's maybe a health issue that you got to think about. Maybe entrepreneurship work is not for you.
Interesting. Right. So they might not be for everyone. That may be depending on your own resolve. Right.
Again, if everybody's an entrepreneur, then who's going to work?
Right. So find what fits you. If you need that kind of recharge, find a position where you can have that time that you need to recharge. Don't look to be going straight 10 hours a day. That's interesting. Find the balance that works for you personally. I like that. That's a good point.
And I also tell people, it's not about the $1 million. Be an entrepreneur. Make the first $100,000.
Right.
You want to be an entrepreneur. Everybody thinks, an entrepreneur, I'm going to be a multimillionaire. No. First, make the 100K. Can you do with what you like 100K? Then you can do it. And you don't need to spend 10, 15 hours a day to make the $100,000. You can have a 9-to-5 job and from 6 to 9 or 6 to 10 twice a week or 3 times a week to do some side hustle and make $100,000. And then when you've done that, you have trained yourself to make the $1 million. So all these big entrepreneurs, they're teaching you how to make the $1 million, but they're never really teaching you. Pay this reserve money and this event, 20 grand, 30 grand, 40 grand. It's nice to pay that. I'm paying just for really seeing you and chilling with you. But what do I gain out of it? You're going to give me some advice that's going to make me a multi-millionaire? I don't really think that's going to happen overnight,
Okay. Right. So take that first and then learn how to 10x it once you've figured out the basics.
Exactly. So that's what's happening. Everybody's thinking, I'm going to work 10, 15 hours. I'm going to be the millionaire. No. First, make your 100K. Break 100K.
Right. Okay. No, I like that. Right. So that's a good way to do it, to not set it so high that it's unattainable either.
Yeah, perfect. Exactly.
Okay. Exactly. So I have one more before I'm going to give my own personal tip.
Awesome.
So
I'm excited. Really... I've been waiting the whole show for this.
Right. That's right. So, and it's kind of, it goes with all of them, a lot of self-care in that, but you'll see where I'm going with that. So number 5 is learn to say no. This is huge because a lot of people are people pleasers, and that doesn't do anything. Be selective about commitments. Learn how to say no to tasks or events that don't align with your own priorities or contribute to your overall well-being personally or business-wise. How do you handle that, Benny?
So I've been only doing this for the past 2-3 years. I've been saying no to a lot of projects that come to my table. I said no. I just say no. I say I can't. I have other responsibilities. I have other people's I'm responsible for, and I just say no. I've turned down maybe over 40 to 100 projects from macro to micro, and I just say no because I have to obviously dedicate my company, iShook, which is what we spend so much on. My book publishing and my book writing, that's number 2, and then you have a few other real estate here, a little bit other projects here and there that we've been we've been working on for many years, for a decade now. So and we want to leverage those assets, but in general, I say no. I don't do tasks that I don't feel I can really give my time to it. If a person will come in and say I will be a partner and he does the work, then maybe. But like I had a person who said, no, I want to do this project with you, but we got to be like married people. I'm like, yo, bro. That's not how I work. I'm here to work in investing and you working. I'm going to be married to you. That's an excuse. You're already setting up parameters of an excuse. That if you're not going to be at work, I got to drop everything and work. That's not how it works.
That's right.
You're not married. I'm not married to you, bro. It's not going to happen. Like that concept of thinking in a partnership is already a failure. Right. And of course, I have to say no to a lot of people because you have to vet people. Even when you sign contracts, people don't fulfill contracts. So,
Right. Okay. So that's something that's worked for you that you've already been implementing. So you said just the past 2 or 3 years before then, were you just saying yes to too much and finding yourself overextended?
Yeah, I was looking at things. Oh, this is an opportunity. You have to take it because when you're going to find another opportunity. That was my mindset. Then my mindset had changed because when you reach a certain level of doing projects, you will always get opportunities come to the door. And you really got to, then that's where you have to learn from someone to know which opportunities outweigh the next. And that's where you have to really figure out.
Interesting. Right. Okay. I love that. So, and I try to do the same thing. You want to please people. You don't want to pass up on opportunities, but you have to learn to say no. And I find that people respect that. And if they really want to work with you, then they'll either change things around to make it fit your schedule or whatever it is, what your needs, or it won't work. Not everything's going to be a fit. And knowing that you have the ability to say no to some things takes that load off you as well. So,
and also caring less about other people's opinions became more part of my lifestyle as well.
Well, that's true. And that helps. I think that's a function of getting a little bit older too, and realizing things pass, people aren't as concerned about you as you think they are. So you're freer to be yourself and not worry about their thoughts as well.
And Gary Vee said it very smart. He said, don't sell to the unsellable. If a person and Jordan Peterson said the same thing. Don't entertain those who will not acknowledge your ideas. There's no point. You're just trying to convince someone who's never going to be convinced. And that's why I stopped doing. I stopped convincing people who will never be convinced. And that's why those 2 points from successful people gave me the ability to say, you know what? I got to say no more. Hence what you said. Right.
Okay. No, that makes sense. Okay. So all the action items so far, these are things you've used, you're familiar with, and we've touched on, and we've even tied them back to major world events, which is really fun. So these little small action items. I didn't know we were going there, but we did. We solved the fall of Rome. Too bad we're a few thousand years too late, Benny. So here's what I do, and it's kind of along the lines of number 4, practicing self-care. But this is something that I do, my wife does, and it takes almost no time, but recharges you and gives you this mental break anytime you need. We do what we've called, and have done this for a decade, mini vacations. And this could be as little as 10, 15 minutes, anytime during the day when you need it, saying, I'm going to shut down. I'm going to have a cup of tea, contemplative, meditative cup of tea in the middle of the day, not talk to anyone, sit there, contract, regroup, and come back. I'm going to take a 10-minute walk outside. I'm going to, if you're working from home, talk to my dogs, speak to my kids, 10, 15-minute mini vacations. The beauty of it is not even utilizing it so much is that knowing it's there whenever you need it sometimes makes you not even need it. That no matter how crazy this next hour or two will be, at the end of it, I'm going to be sitting with a cup of coffee, with a cup of tea, whatever it is that you like in yoga poses, reading a book for 10 minutes. It's so, I don't know, it's so luxurious in the middle of a workday when you feel like maybe I should be doing something quote unquote productive, that is in and of itself the productivity. So I urge all of our listeners, all of our viewers, give it a try. Say I'm going to allow myself this mini vacation once a day, and it will take no time, and it will increase your productivity, and call it a mini vacation in your mind. So you're not just having a cup of coffee, you're having a mini vacation. Think about the difference in the mindset and think of how each sip is different. So we're not just guzzling, but a mindful sip where we're tasting, we're thinking of even where the farmers got the beans for 10 minutes. That's it. You have 10 minutes. Spend 10 less minutes clicking through your phone. Spend 10 more on your mini vacation. That's it. That was just my number one action item to take from you. It's kind of along the lines of self-care, but it's accessible to everybody. And I just do it myself. And I know if I have something hard or that I've been working hard to, it's like a mini reward in the middle of the day too. And it takes virtually no time, but it's just framing that mindset. So if you're watching, I would love to hear some comments and thoughts from any viewers. Have you tried this? Will you try this? After you've tried it, let us know what you think. Benny, if you try this, I want to hear back next time. Be like, Chad, you know what? I said, forget it for 10 minutes and came back feeling like a new man. It's great. I know JFK used to take mini naps, 20-minute naps while he was running the free world. It worked for him. So if he can do it, I think the rest of us can find the time too. So that was my number one action item to take away from today.
I love it. I have nothing to say. I keep it that way.
Okay. Well, I hope you give it a try, and it's just reframing it. You may even take a coffee break, but not call it a mini vacation. And it's
kind of hard to do a walk in the winter in New York. So
that's right. Right. So the warm cup of tea will be the way to go then for something like that.
Yeah,
so.
Tea, coffee for sure. No, I like it. By the way, they do this in Europe and they do this in India. They do this in all other cultures where they get their tea breaks. You know, they have to have a tea break. That's part of their culture. I mean, we're the only culture in America that we don't have a tea break. We don't have
coffee siesta. Break. Right.
Yeah, we don't have it. We don't have in other communities. They have, I'm tea time. You know, they're going to tea time.
Right. You wouldn't even think to infringe on someone. Interesting. And those are much more mature countries, civilizations that have been around a lot longer than ours, where it's frowned upon here almost.
Yeah, because that's what makes America America. Because we are the buyers of the world. So we're the consumers of the world, and the consumer is always right.
That's right. Exactly. Right. Yeah. And the consumer can learn for the long term to have a little bit more balance and then be able to consume more. So it's all about that mental acuity. And I tell you, I love all the different colors I'm turning during this episode, Benny. It's fantastic.
It's not for a show. We'll fix that. We'll fix that. That's not a problem.
I have a window right here to pull back the curtain, and this sun is going in and out. So that's it. But it's fun. I don't know. Halfway through the sentence, I'm changing colors like I just was out in the sun getting a tan. I love it. So that's all part of the fun here. So what do we have coming as we get towards the end of the show? We have a lot coming down the pike. This is an inexhaustible topic, Benny. So some things we're going to do is uncovering work-life balance myths, debunking common misconceptions, exploring practical strategies for this healthy work-life balance, time management techniques, sharing time management tips. We're going to have some experts on about prioritizing tasks, maximizing productivity, so we can take that same hour and make that hour work for us. Before sometimes, you read a book and you go, I've been reading the same sentence 20 times and I don't know what this sentence says. That's not effective.
I'm excited to learn. I'm excited to see who you're going to bring on. I mean, it's awesome. I love it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I am too. Like I said, we're seekers. We are seekers. I see that in your life and my life. and we want to get answer. We're going to go into stress reduction, mindfulness practices, different techniques, the importance of mental well-being and achieving work-life balance. We're going to talk about remote work and flexibility, explore those benefits and the challenges of remote work, flexible schedules, and how to set those boundaries as well. And even navigating career transitions. I, like Benny, have changed. I've worked in many different facets of careers and many different industries. How do you do that? How do you shift gears? How do you balance all that in a professional career and find fulfillment? Because that's what it's all about. We have to find fulfillment in that. So it's been a really, I think, a fascinating first episode. We set the groundwork for a terrific series. I'm super excited. I love getting to talk to you and pick your brain, Benny, and learn from you and from your own experiences and share mine as well. So again, we are here on a journey of discovery and pursuit of that work-life harmony. We're seekers. We want to get the answers, and we want to hear from you. We want to have an active, engaged community. So please reach out to us. You can comment. We want to hear what you want to hear from us, what you've done, what works for you, what doesn't work, what you heard today that you go, you guys are crazy. That doesn't work. We want that to engage with us. That's all fun as we delve into it. And Benny, this has been a really fun, successful, fruitful first show. I really appreciate this.
Thank you. No, I appreciate you starting the show with iShook, and much respect. And we're going to make this grow with all the other shows that we have. And listen, for all the viewers, join, start following us, subscribe. You're only going to get benefits. We'll also put some competitions for you guys, try to give a few giveaways just for more engagement, for people to feel like, I like to make our viewers feel that they're getting rewarded for digesting our content. So that's very important.
Absolutely. Besides just getting to hang out with us for an hour. I mean, that's a reward in of itself.
They gotta love us. I mean, that's
right. That's right. Make a cup of coffee, a cozy hot cup of cocoa, and hang out with Benny and Chad for an hour. It's awesome.
Yeah, the advice, the final advice, 15 minutes with me, with Chad and I,
That's right. Mini vacations. That's it. Yeah. But thank you so much, Benny. Thank you, everyone, for staying with us on the iShook experience. We've got a lot coming down the pike. Check us out. We can't wait for the next episode, and we'll keep you updated and let us know. We want to hear from you. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.